Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. In today's video, I thought I would hop on here and do a quick little fall TBR. I haven't done a TBR in a couple of months, and I definitely have a lot of kind of like fall-esque themed vibey books that I want to read over the next couple of months. So I thought it would be fun to kind of do a seasonal TBR, let you guys know what is on my radar for the next couple of months, what I will be getting into, what you can kind of expect content wise, since I haven't done like a reset video in a bit either. That's what we're going to do today. I have a couple different categories of books to share with you. All of these are going to be backlist titles. If you're interested in books that are coming out in the next couple of months, I did just put out a video of my anticipated new releases for through the end of 2024. So those books will also be on my radar and maybe added to TBRs here and there as well. But these are like my backlist books that have fall vibes that I like save for fall season that I want to get to this year. So that's the plan. My categories are kind of like themed. Like I have some books that are like back to school related. As we all know, fall is like back to school time. I am infinitely glad that I don't have to go back to school, but sometimes it's fun to read books where the characters go back to school and you can just live through the good parts and not any of the bad parts. I also have some like historical romances because I feel like fall is a good time to read like some cozy historical fiction. I also have some witchy romance books that are good for like spooky season that I'll probably be reading in October. And then I have a good list of like some chunky fantasies that I want to dive into this fall. I feel like fall is the perfect time to cozy up with like a blanket and some tea and just take some time to tackle those dense fantasy books. So that's what I'm planning to do. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the books, and let's go ahead and start with the back to school books. So I have 3 books in this category. The first of which is How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly. This is a contemporary sapphic rom-com involving a high school basketball coach and the parent of one of the girls on her team who just so happens to be a retired college basketball star. So I love a good sports romance, and this one has the added element of kind of being set in like a school sphere, maybe like having some parent-child interactions as well, which I always think are cute. So I definitely want to check this one out. It sounds perfect for fall. I love that it's orange too. It fits the fall vibes even more. Okay, this one probably is going to be exciting to some of you. I am planning to read The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic this fall. I have read this book before. I didn't love it, but I am planning to give it another chance and read the entire series, hopefully in an upcoming reading vlog. I feel like I just want to get the fan art of this series, you know, like people love this series so much and I want to be someone who loves this series as much as everyone else. So we're gonna try and read it this fall. I think it'll be perfect for fall too. Back to school vibes. It's following our main character named Daniil, who an XC player, which is a fictional sport created by this author and for this world. I don't know if he's recruited to play for this university, but he goes to this university and tries out for the team. And he's kind of like the promising new player. He basically meets like all of these different people, is like experiencing college life, like romance and partying and friends and all of that stuff. There's also like an undertone of like mafia going on in the book, which I think is kind of odd, and I think maybe why I didn't love it at first. But I think now that I can go into it with more accurate expectations, I might enjoy it more. So I definitely want to give this one another chance, and what better time than fall. The last book in my little back to school category is Meeting Millie by Claire Ashton. If you're interested in this book, it is on KU, so if you want to read along with me, let me know. This book is basically what the cover presents it to be. It's a sapphic contemporary rom-com set in Oxford University. I feel like Oxford is just like such the quintessential like university. Like, could you imagine going to a better school than Oxford? Like, it's so fall, so like vibey. I don't know what I'm talking about, but so I think this book is kind of dual timeline. Charlotte and Millie meet their first year of Oxford and become instant friends. Charlotte is a lesbian, Millie is straight, allegedly. And then in college they have some kind of queer interaction that kind of turns their worlds upside down, and they don't speak for 10 years, and then they come back together and kind of decide if they can be friends again, if they're attracted to one another, if they belong together. So I think this is kind of a romance that deals with friendship and finding yourself. With the setting of Oxford University in the background, I just think it would be the perfect fall read. Okay, now moving on to the next category, which are historical romances. Let's dive into some of those. So the first one on my list is A Nobleman's Guide to Seducing a Scoundrel by KJ Charles. This is the second book in the Doomsday series, which is basically a series of historical fiction novels. They're all romances, all following a different couple. In this book, we're following Rufus and Luke. Rufus has recently inherited this dukedom, but his family does not want him to inherit this dukedom because they thought it's like his aunt and uncle, they thought their son was going to inherit. So they're trying everything, throwing everything at the wall, trying to get him proved to be not the legal duke or whatever. Luke comes in as supposedly some illegitimate son of his father or whatever. He's not, but I don't know. He has some story that's supposed to challenge Rufus's inheritance. Turns out though, Luke just really needs a job. And so Rufus hires him to kind of be like a secretary, and they fall in love. Kind of a convoluted plot. I am currently reading this one and really enjoying it, and it definitely is giving fall vibes. I feel like a historical romance, a lot of them do give these fall vibes, you know, it's just a cozy, fun read to read when the air starts getting crisp. So definitely want to finish up this one here soon. I also am really interested in picking up We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian. This one's been on my radar for a while, and I feel like it's finally the perfect time. This is another queer historical romance. It's MLM following two men. In this book, we're following Nick and Andy, who both work for the same newspaper as reporters, except Nick is pulled himself up by the bootstraps, gotten this job all on his own, whereas Andy's father owns the newspaper. And even though Andy knows that he's gonna make a fool of himself, Nick keeps rescuing him. They continue to spend more time together and have this romance despite the time period and how gay men are very much not accepted. It takes place in the 1950s. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I love Cat Sebastian as a historical fiction author, and I definitely want to get to this one this fall. And my last book in this historical fiction category is Backwards to Oregon by Jay. It's pretty crazy that I've never read this book, considering one of my hyperfixations as a child was Oregon Trail history. I literally know everything about the Oregon Trail. Why was this my hyperfixation historical period? I don't know, but the fact that there is a lesbian romance set on the Oregon Trail, this book was written for me. It was written for me, and how dare I have not read it yet. So I'm planning to read it here very, very soon. Actually, I do want to correct myself. I'm not sure it's a totally lesbian romance, as I do think one of the characters, I don't know that they identify as non-binary, as that kind of language probably was not available to them at that time, but they do seem to dress and present as a man most of the time, according to the description and reviews that I have read, but they are queered as a queer romance. So it follows Luke and Nora, who kind of end up in this marriage for appearances, it seems so that they can both journey on the Oregon Trail to hopefully a better life, and I believe that they genuinely fall in love along the way. Very excited to read this one. I think it will be amazing. It has incredible ratings and reviews, and I just personally am interested in everything about it, so I'm very excited to pick this one up. Okay, my next category of books that I want to talk about are witchy romances, which are perfect for spooky season. I love a good cozy fantasy. I feel like witch romances can kind of be a hit or miss for me, but I'm hoping all of these are hits because they seem like a fun time. The first book I want to talk about is This Spells Disaster by Tori Ann Martin. There are a couple different tropes involved in this book. First of which, fake dating. Morgan and Rory agree to fake date. Unclear why from the description, but they do agree to fake date. And as they're trying to fool everyone, Morgan is worried because Rory seems to be kind of returning her what she thought were unrequited crush feelings, and so she starts to worry that she accidentally gave her a love potion, and then is worried that she needs to reverse the effects of said love potion. So it sounds kind of messy, kind of ridiculous, kind of campy, and a lot of fun. I definitely want to pick this one up here soon. Another witchy romance on my list is From Bad to Cursed by Lana Harper. This is the second book in the Witches of Thistle Grove series, and I read the first book almost 2 years ago, probably, I think, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was so cute, such a solid sapphic romance, and I did like the magic system and the world that this author built. And I believe this should be another sapphic rom-com following different characters in the same world. Just kidding, not sapphic, hopefully still queer though. But it basically follows Isadora and Rowan, who are arch enemies. They're from families that don't like one another, and somebody is sabotaging the Beltane Festival, which is a yearly witchy fall festival, and each family is like pointing the finger at one another, and so Isadora and Rowan are kind of like investigating each other to see who is actually behind the sabotage, and I think obviously they end up coming together and falling in love. So this sounds super cute and fun. I'm excited to be back in this world and revisit with these characters, and I hope that this one is a hit. The next book on my witchy romance list is Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. This is a book about a witch named Marigold who is being trained by her grandmother to be the next Honey Witch. I don't really exactly know what that means, but then this woman named Lottie Burke appears on her doorstep, doesn't believe in magic, and part of the like lore behind the Honey Witch is they can never find true love, but Lottie seems to spark something within Marigold, and she's determined to convince her that magic is real at the price of her heart. So this sounds really cute and cozy. It doesn't have the best reviews, but I don't know, I'm really drawn to this book. I think it has a beautiful cover, and I really just am excited to give it a shot. I think it would be good. And last but certainly not least, I also have The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Wagner. This is another witchy romance book. This book follows Deli and Wynn. Deli is a fire witch and Wynn is like a gentlewoman. They are pretty much opposites, but they have to join forces to try and defeat a deadly conspiracy. This one I actually got, I think, in like a mystery, like a blind date with a book, and I really haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but I was so drawn to it and so excited that I got it. It really sounds right up my alley, like a queer, witchy, fantasy, cozy romance book. Perfect for fall. I can't wait to read this one. And of course, a fall TBR wouldn't be complete without a bunch of fantasy. So let's go ahead and get into that category. Definitely one of the first fantasies I want to pick up this fall is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I have read Tasha Suri's other series. I think it was just a duology. I enjoyed it, but I think I will love this one because it's queer and sapphic. So I'm very excited to get to this one. And the little blurb on Goodreads says, it's set in a world inspired by the history and epics of India, in which a captive princess and a maidservant in possession of forbidden magic become unlikely allies on a dark journey to save their empire from the princess's traitor brother. Sounds incredible. This book is very intimidating, but honestly, the text is really large and I think the chapters are fairly short. So I think I should be able to get to it. I think it looks worse than it will be. But either way, I'm excited to get into like a chunky fantasy book. Like, I think this one sounds so good and I'm very, very excited for it. Another fantasy book that I want to get to really soon is one that I have been putting off for some reason because I know I'm gonna love it and I don't want it to be over, but I haven't even started it yet. My brain is weird sometimes. A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. This is an MLM fantasy romance. This book follows Kato and Evermer. Evermer is Kato's bodyguard. Kato is a prince. His loyalties are kind of being questioned, so to prove his loyalty, he is teaming up with his bodyguard to investigate this break-in that happened at the castle. Evermer seems to not like him so much, so it kind of seems like maybe bad first impression or enemies to lovers, but set in this rich fantasy world. And I think Kato has some kind of magic powers where you can taste touch metals or something. So this book sounds so good and I've heard nothing but good things. It sounds so lovely and really just right up my alley. So I'm kind of mad at myself that I haven't read it yet, but I am definitely gonna read it this fall. Definitely. The next book on my list is Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat. This is, I think, YA fantasy queer romance, and it just sounds very unique, and I've heard that the writing style is incredible, so I definitely don't see how I won't love this one. And we're basically following our main character Will, and in this world there seems to be sects of light and dark, and Will is on the run. He's being pursued by men who killed his mother, but before he knows it, this old servant tells him this prophecy that he has a destiny to fight beside the stewards, and so he's ushered into this world of magic and he is being trained to fight in this oncoming battle against dark. And Will is kind of caught in the crossfires, very new to this world, not sure what's going on. So this is the start of a trilogy, I believe, and it sounds really cool. It kind of almost gives me old school YA, training for battle, crazy world apocalypse things happening, but with a queer twist. So I definitely want to pick this one up soon. It sounds so good. Next on my list is a book that's been a quintessential fall read for the last couple of years that it has been published, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I can't believe I haven't read this book yet. This is a cozy monster fantasy about these two paranormal friends who leave their lives of fighting and war and bloodshed behind to open this coffee shop. And their enemies are trying to thwart their plans, but they're determined to live a cozy life together. So sometimes you need like a low-stake cozy fantasy in your life, especially one that's queer, potentially sapphic, definitely about queer friendships and found family. So I am so excited to finally pick this one up this fall. I definitely, I want to get to all of these so soon, but this one particularly. Another book I can't believe I haven't read yet, Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. You might not know this about me, but I actually genuinely really love Cassandra Clare. I've read all of her series, all of her books, except for this one. I think I was kind of waiting for the original trilogy to like be out before I started reading this one, just so that I wouldn't have to wait years for books to come out, because she seems to take a long time to write books. That was like 4 or 5 years ago now though. So it's crazy that I haven't read this yet. I really need to get to it, and what better time than fall? I mean, look at the cover of this book. Her hair looks like leaves. Perfect time to read this book in fall. So this is Cassandra Clare's like latest completed series, and I need to read this one because I'm so excited for the next one. I'm not necessarily super excited for this one, even though I'm sure I'll like it, but the next series, so excited for. This one, I think, follows the children of the characters from the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is her like steampunk Edwardian London series, Victorian London series, I don't know. I've heard it's kind of queerbaity though, which has kind of put me off it a little bit. I am excited to read it. I feel like I was always reading these books when I was in school, so I feel like it brings back that nostalgic school time fall energy for me in more ways than one. So I definitely think this is the time to do it. It's the time to finally read Chain of Gold. Another perfect fall book is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. This one is probably one of the few that is kind of like horror on this list, which you might think like fall TBR, spooky thrillers. I'm not really into that right now. I am into cozy fantasies and romances, but I'm also into this one. It's sapphic, so I feel like it fits in the queer realm. I do think that it's also fantasy, historical fiction, horror, mystery, gothic. So this is kind of genre bending. It's a lot of things. And it sounds like it's almost a dual timeline. This is set at like a school for girls, and back in the day in the early 1900s, these two girls like were found dead on the land. And then like in modern times, these actresses have arrived at the set to play like a fictionalized version of the movie of the deaths of these girls from the early 1900s. Things start happening, it starts to be creepy, and the line between like reality and fiction starts to become more unclear. This sounds creepy, sounds interesting. I've been wanting to read it forever. I love this author's other book, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, so I'm super excited to get to this one. Literally, what better time to read it than right now in fall. Okay, another book this one might be the most wild card book in this video, but I've wanted to read this forever. I am like an OG BookTube watcher. Like I've been watching BookTube for like 12 years. And I feel like this book was huge when I first started watching BookTube, and I've just always been fascinated by it, mostly because I love like mixed media books, and this is like the mixed media book. And of course that is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This is another kind of genre bender. I think it's probably mostly horror, but it's also like mystery, fantasy, thriller, craziness. If you've never seen like the inside of the book, like it's just crazy. Like some pages are full of text, some aren't. I also don't think you read it linearly. I think it kind of tells you where to go in the book. Like you have to skip to certain pages and flip back and forth. So it is an intensive reading experience, I would say. It's very unclear exactly what this is about. I almost think it's kind of a haunted house sort of story. I think this family moves into this new house and they discover that their house is larger on the inside than it seems on the outside, and I think they almost like find paranormal portals and like weird things keep happening. So this is a very freaky book. It's very like lauded, people love it. It's just an experience, and it's one that you need some time to dedicate to, and I feel like I have that time in the fall. That's what we're gonna do with our time in the fall, is read this mammoth. And last but certainly not least, I couldn't make this video and not include Brother Song by TJ Klune. This is the 4th and final book in the Green Creek series that I've been reading this year. It's time for me to finally finish it, so I definitely want to do that this fall. This is a paranormal werewolf romance series with a very interesting like overarching fantasy plot, very high stakes, but then each book has a different romance in it as well. This is Carter's book. He's the final brother that's not been paired off yet, so he is getting paired off in this book. This book kind of involves Carter trying to convince his partner, his mate, to not be a martyr. because he's kind of sacrificed himself to save the rest of the family. At least that's what like the first part of the book is. I have started it. I'm like 100 pages in. Obviously I love it. It's so good. And just being in like, this book is set in Oregon. It's chilly, it's werewolves, it's full moons, it's paranormal, like it's all the fall things wrapped up in one book, and it's perfect. And I love it and can't think of a better book to like get me into the fall spirit, the fall vibes. So yeah, all right. Those are all the books I wanted to talk about that I'm planning to read this fall that are kind of fall themed. Let me know in the comments down below what's on your fall TBR. I would love to know. Maybe I'll add a book or two to mine from your suggestions. All of these books that I talked about are also linked in the description if you're interested in getting them, reading along with me. These are affiliate links. I earn a tiny commission if you purchase through them. Of course, they're just there if you want them. No pressure to use them at all. Free ways to support this channel, obviously. Subscribe if you haven't already, like this video, comment down below. You can also follow me on all social media. Those links are in the description if you want to follow me outside of YouTube. And I think that is everything for me today. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!